It's time to jump off the pitch and jump on some lines. Welcome to the World Soccer Betting Show, presented by Picks Parlays.
It's Franco and the Genius World Soccer Betting Show. I'm Franco, that's the Genius, and we're presented by Picks Parlays. Up next, Group G. Sean, what do you got?
We got a team called Brazil. I'm not sure if you've heard of them or not. Let me put my glasses on so I could see who's playing here. Serbia, Switzerland, who's frauded their way to the rankings for like about, over a decade here, in Cameroon. It's a very, Brazil, obviously, clearly heavy favorites to win the group. When you look at it, they're going to probably win the group. Now, the rest of the stuff, I don't know. When you start to look at Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon, all of a sudden that looks pretty interesting.
Sure does. Let's start with Brazil from the top. FIFA ranked number 1, 22nd appearance for the Brazilians. Winners in 58 and 62. Of course, that was the last time anybody went back-to-back. 70, 94, and 2002. Brazil, a 9-time Copa America champion. Was first in the South American qualifying, went undefeated 14-0-3. Remember, of course, they didn't play the last game against Argentina because both teams had already qualified, and 7-0-1 in 2022. And, of course, Brazil, it all starts with Neymar, their talisman, 121 caps and 75 goals.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably, and I'm not even sure if probably is the right word, they're the most talented team here. This squad is ridiculous. First of all, they have the two best keepers in the Premier League, Alisson and Ederson. One of those two keepers isn't even going to play.
Right, well, only one of them can play.
Only one of them can play. It's not like, the midfield or whatever. So one of those keepers, I personally, I like Ederson better, but, Alisson has more caps here, so they like him. You start to look at this defense, you got... You got Thiago Silva.
The ageless Thiago Silva.
Just keeps playing. Marquinhos at PSG. Alex Telles, who stinks. He's at Manchester United. A fault for every goal.
That explains
He's
it.
actually at Sevilla now. He's so bad for United. We had to get rid of Eder Militao, who's been phenomenal for Real Madrid. Bremer, Juventus. I mean, this team is really good. The defense, the midfield. Listen to this midfield. Who's playing midfield from this group? You got Casemiro, who's now with Manchester United, probably their best player, but, was dominant. He's only 30. He's the best defensive midfielder in the world. Lucas Paqueta. You got Fred. You got Everton Ribeiro. You got Fabinho. And you got Bruno Guimaraes, who's just lighting the Premier League on fire with Newcastle United. There's a lot of players. Now, listen to this forward line. Who's playing here? You got...
Well, Neymar's playing.
Richarlison, Neymar, Anthony, who's on Manchester United, Rafinha, who's on Barcelona, Vinicius, he's unbelievable for Real Madrid, Cunha, who plays for Atletico Madrid, Firmino, Liverpool, and then Pedro and Rodrigo. I mean, this team is... Rodrigo, who scores big goals all the time for Real Madrid. They could just play all forwards. Don't even need a midfield in this game. They're so
loaded.
Talented.
They're so loaded.
And Richarlison's been banged up, so, whatever. He's not even playing, but, do they even need him? They got so many players. This is the deepest squad and the most talented squad, arguably with France in the world and in this competition. If they play to the heights they can play. It's so hard to go through.
I just can't see anybody in this group challenging them.
Arguably, look at the players that aren't in the squad: Barbosa, Jesus, Martinelli. I just don't see a way. They should be in the final. We'll get to that stuff, but they just things happen obviously. But even if they get injured, a couple players get injured. It doesn't matter, especially if it's attacking players. It's plug and play.
Yeah, they're so good, and they're so much fun to watch too when they're all clicking. And we'll see. And look, and there's no doubt that Brazil's going to win the group. Brazil is going to win the group, and I think the question then becomes among the other three teams. One, Well, who comes out of that pack as the second team? And we'll start here with Switzerland. FIFA rank is 15. It's the 12th appearance for the Swiss, quarterfinalists 3 prior times in 1934, 38, and 54. The Swiss, though, they're just 3-4-1 in 2022, and they were third in their Nations League group behind Spain and Portugal.
A little bit older team, obviously. Jan Sommer, plays for Mönchengladbach. They have
and then Shaqiri and Xhaka in the
Fabian
middle.
Schär, Emmanuel Akanji, who plays for Manchester City. They have some big time players. Kevin Mbabu, who plays for your Fulham team as well. Shaqiri, Xhaka, both 30. There's Zakaria, who plays for Chelsea. He's been a little bit banged up. But you look at their midfield and their forwards, a lot of guys that are 30, 30, 35. They got Breland Bolo. They have some talent here.
The Swiss are always a team when I look at them and I go, they could cause somebody problems. Any game they match up into, I go, that's not an easy game. Yeah. Whether they're playing Brazil, whether they're playing England or France or Germany or Spain, I look at it and I go, well, that's not an easy game. Yeah, and that's how I feel about the Swiss, and it's how I feel about this team.
Yeah, yep. I mean, once again, some talent. They have some older players. This is probably their last World Cup here, and this may be their last run, but there's a good mix here, and I think this team is going to be pretty tough to beat in some of these games. Obviously, not against Brazil.
All right, the third team in the group, Serbia. This is the FIFA ranked 21. It's the 12th appearance. Remember, Serbia's appearances also include the former Yugoslavia.
Yes.
Best finish twice. Serbia was 4th. 1930, the first World Cup, and 1962. Serbia 5-2-1 in 2022. They did win their Nations League group to earn promotion to the A League in the Nations League. And of course, you'll remember, first in the qualifying group, they avoided the playoff on a dramatic night when they beat Portugal 2-1 on a 90th minute winner from my guy Alexander Mitrovic.
And, when you start to talk about this squad right now, obviously Mitrovic he's got 50 goals for this team. 50 goals in 76 appearances. I mean, that's a pretty big...
He scored 43 goals last season in the championship, and he's picked up that form with Fulham in the Premier League. He's got 9, at time of taping, he's got 9 goals in 11 appearances. Look, he is a guy, if you put it in his airspace, he is going to win it right now. He is in that kind of form. You hang it up for him in the box, and he is going to go get it. It doesn't matter who the center backs are.
Yeah, and and they have Luka Jovic, Valovic, who's playing for Juventus. They their forwards are pretty good. Once again, they got some players that are a little bit older as well, but they got Milinkovic, Savic. They have a pretty good midfield.
Dusan Tadic is still doing his thing for Ajax.
Is the captain. He's got a lot of goals. They have some pretty good players. A lot of their players play in Italy right now. They have a decent defense. They got some younger players in defense. There's a little bit more of a mix. This team is very talented. And once again, if Mitrovic is on the pitch, it doesn't matter. He's going to score goals.
I think that Mitrovic-Vlahovic, if they play them together, that could be tough to deal with.
Yeah, I like this team a little bit, and I think, once again, if they can get through to the knockout stage, all of a sudden you're looking at a team who wants to play this team in the knockout stage.
And the final team in Group G, Cameroon, FIFA ranked 43. It's the 8th appearance. Quarterfinalists in 1990. Cameroon is a 5-time African champion. The last of those came in 2017. 6-3-3 in 2022, and they won the playoff to qualify over Algeria. And much like Serbia, in dramatic fashion, that was 2-2 on aggregate. Cameroon went through on away goals after Karl Toko Akambi scored in the 124th minute. So the 4th minute of added time to the extra time to send Cameroon through over Algeria.
Yeah, I remember watching that game, and you just look at it, and you're just like, wow, this is crazy. I mean, none of them have any caps. They're all, you look online, and you're like, wait, what's going on here? But they do have some talent. Onana in goal.
He's been injured.
I thought he was back.
Is he back? He'd been out for a little while.
They have some some play. They have a couple of players that play for the player that plays for the Union, Oliver Mbezo, but they have some players that you might have heard of Anguissa and Oliver Mitchum, some of these players. The main guy up top, he's a guy that I really like, and if he was on my team, Manchester United, obviously Manchester's red here. You see this shirt. I always think he could help me. Is Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting?
He's a guy who's bounced around from big club to big club.
Only plays for winners. It's crazy.
Yeah, and he just kind of fills in and will do a job for you.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be big, obviously, because he is pretty big, but he scores goals. He has some goals. Clinton Njai.
His last 2 clubs are PSG and Bayern Munich.
Oh, yeah, I know. He plays for big clubs. I mean, teams like
you mean
him.
Stoke City's not a big club before that?
Oh, that's right. Imagine that. He went from Stoke City. People were like, he was at Stoke City, and then he went to PSG, and people were like, how does PSG, wait, what? And then they went to the Champions League final that year. Vincent
He
Abubakar
scored the goal to send them to the Champions League final, didn't he?
Yeah. Vincent Abubakar, who's, now he's playing El Nasser. He's age 30, but, he's got a lot of goals, and he was a good player. There's some talent on this team. Obviously, though, this team is clearly the underdogs in this group and going to struggle, I think, to play. And, Switzerland plays Cameroon on match day 1 here.
Here's a fun fact about Cameroon that will probably not help you or maybe it will, but Cameroon's, the player with the most caps for Cameroon is Rigobert Song. Rigobert Song is the coach.
How about that? That's interesting. It's always good when you have those guys coming in, that played for the program and then kind of just stay through. I think it gives you some continuity. The first game, Brazil is minus 220, Serbia is plus 600, and then that other game is really big, I think, in this.
So who's on upset alert? It's not Brazil.
Nah, they'll win 9 points. Switzerland. I mean, Serbia is not really an upset. I would go Switzerland against Cameroon in the first match. I don't think Serbia can beat Brazil. And I think obviously Switzerland, Serbia is not really much of an upset. I would say the first game, and once again, we talk about this all the time. It's November 24th. It's the early 8 o'clock game, I think. Switzerland plays Cameroon. Maybe Cameroon can pull off a little bit of an upset here. I don't see these other games, and you see, that's actually a pretty decent upset as it is because you look at the odds there, and you get some pretty decent value for a game like for Cameroon in this game. So I think that's the game I'll choose.
Who's moving on?
Who's your upset?
Oh, my upset. I don't know if there is one.
There's going to be some groups
where you look at it.
I'm not sure there's too much of an upset.
I
I think it's the first game. I don't, because Serbia, Cameroon, we don't have the odds for the third game yet, and nobody's beating Brazil. So it's like, you try to find one. I don't know.
Cameroon against either Switzerland or Serbia?
Has to be.
I mean, that's if you were going to bet one, I think it's got to be one.
I think you look at the first game, once again, because sometimes these teams, when they come in, like Serbia, Serbia's going to get beat by Brazil. They know they have to win that game. They know they're going to have to beat Cameroon going in. So I think for them, it's not, it's a little bit of a, you're already going to be down 3 points. And, if Switzerland actually does get a win or whatever, if Cameroon happens to get a win, all of a sudden you need to win that game. So I think it has to be that game. I just, other than that, the biggest game in this group is match day 3 on December 2nd. Yeah, it's Serbia and Switzerland.
That's why, it's 100%. When we look at who's moving on, I think that game is going to determine who does, right? And and when I look at this, one of the challenges for Serbia is you have Brazil in the first game. So if you're looking at that, and look, you're going to go out and you're going to try and get something from the game. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But if you're kind of mapping that out and you're going, okay, we're going to have 0 points after the first game, right? That makes it more difficult to go and to go and get out of the group.
It's interesting.
Now look, you have winnable games against Cameroon and Switzerland, but there's a lot of pressure on you if you don't get anything out of that first game.
Yeah, and I think, of all, we talk about this, obviously, there's all kinds of games. You can only really, the lines are only up for like the 2 games. I think for me, this game, the Serbia-Cameroon game, Serbia is about even money. They're like minus 105 against Cameroon in that second game. To me, that's the best value bet of the whole thing that I've seen all the way up till now, because once again, Serbia is going to have to win that game here, and they're more talented. So, that line should be maybe closer to like 160. It probably will be. Like, imagine if Serbia gets a result in the first game or gets a draw against Brazil. Oh, man, that line will be crazy. They'll be up to 300. So, I think for me, that's the game I would target.
Who do you got moving on?
Brazil wins the group. Serbia finishes second. I think Serbia is better than an aging Switzerland squad. I think I'm going to... Serbia is what group... So this is Group G or Group F, right?
G. This is Group G.
Group G. Man, my time is flying here. Group G, runners-up Group G. Group G plays the winner of Group H, which would be what we're going to talk about next. Against Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay. I think Serbia could cause Portugal or whoever comes out of the group a lot of problems in that game. And then you got winners Group F after that. It's going to be Belgium and then against the runner-up in Group, what is that?
E.
Runner-up Group E. So then you got Spain and Germany. I think Serbia could cause those teams a lot of problems if they get through. I think Serbia matches up with some of these teams because of the way they can score goals.
I agree with Sean. I think Brazil wins the group. Serbia is second, and we'll come back. It's Franco and the Genius.
Real quickly. When you talk about this and you're looking for dark horses in this tournament, like there's not going to be a lot of them because these teams are good. But once again, Serbia. If you're looking for a team that could be Croatia, which is ironic because they both came from Yugoslavia, right? If you're looking for a team that could be this year's Croatia, it's this team because they can score goals and your guy can score goals. And I think this team is going to be a dangerous team in this tournament.
And by the way, we both believe Brazil can win the World Cup. Coming out of this group.
Brazil
to be clear.
We'll talk about we'll talk about this on Saturday. If you're watching this, you're watching this on Thursday here. We'll talk about this on Saturday. With odds and teams to win, but this Brazil team is clearly the favorite here, and obviously for good reason.
It's Franco and the Genius World Soccer Betting Show presented by Picks and Parlays. Stick with us. We're coming back with the 8th and final group, Group H, up next.
Where's the time going?
Thanks for watching the World Soccer Betting Show. Like and subscribe if you're new, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Missed an episode? Our podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, Google Cast, Apple, and more. The World Soccer Betting Show is presented by Picks and Parlays.